I had an email the other day from one of my viewers who says that I've been watching your content for a long time and was very pleased with the sort of stuff that I come up with. And then all of a sudden he sort of changed his tune. He said, no, Richard, you're not talking about the right stuff. Your show now is becoming completely irrelevant. You're missing out. There's so many other channels who are talking about the relevant things, and somehow you're missing out. And that may be true, because I've turned away from the problem of things into the solutions. And I think this year more than any, we need beacons of positivity. That's my approach. And of course, it's up to me how I develop the show and take it where it is. Although, I noticed, of course, that if you don't talk about problems and add fear to people, then the old views just go down, because people intrinsically like to find out the bad stuff and are not so keen on the good stuff. However, so there's a question for you. Am I talking relevant stuff? Is it important to you? Or am I missing out on stuff? I don't watch the mainstream news. So that is one thing that I do desperately try. So I don't get involved in a number of the distractions. I've got a good idea of what the problems are and what's going down. And I'm very interested in presenting ideas and solutions for us going forward. However, it does seem that the online safety bill will soon sort of crack in, and none of us will be able to say whatever we damn well like, because we're likely to be curtailed. And somebody else sent me this link from Reclaim the Net, that if you look at the headline here, the UK Communications Regulator forms a 350-person team to enforce the UK's new online censorship law. So there'll be lots of people, and if we just have a brief look at this, I'll leave the link in the description so you can go and check it out. Of course, the authorities in the UK are thinking of the children. Everything is sold on, this is going to be good for you. And so that's why they're doing it. And the report says that in order to implement the controversial law that considerably restricts online speech, the regulator is tasked Ofcom and has employed as many as 350 new staff. And these have come from all the big tech giants, Microsoft, Google, and so on and so forth. And of course, it's a bit like the old fact checkers. Who checks the fact checkers? Who gives them the authority to curtail people like me to talk about perhaps things that are beneficial to others? Well, of course, it's the government. Oh yes, that fine, lovely institution that we set the policies for, don't we? That we tell them what to do. Hang on a minute. No, wait, it's gone the other way round, hasn't it? Yes. So my solution, if there is such a solution to any of this, is, of course, let's play whack-a-mole with them. They may come under the big channels, and they may start to curtail the things that we can say, and maybe these channels will disappear. But I would urge people to set up Rumbles and Odysseys, but in particular as many YouTube channels as they can, and to put out their own content, share other people's content as well, as particularly those who do not mind. And so that the information that comes out gets out, so that they continually play that game of whacking the mole and trying to prevent people from getting up. Even if you've only got 10, 20, 100 people watching you and you're putting out your views, let's populate the internet as much as we can with all the different views that people have, and try and make it much more difficult. Because it does seem, I was listening to Brett Weinstein and I can't remember his name now. Tucker Carlson. There we go. And one of the things they were talking about of how we've managed to upend one of the problems and wake people up is, of course, podcasts and videos have been something that the deep state hadn't really reckoned for. They thought that just having the mainstream media and the official narrative was enough. Well, it does seem that we've managed to circumvent that. And of course, we have now got many more people aware of the great harms that have been pushed upon us. And that's brilliant. But I think we now need to up our game a little bit, because as they realise, oh, blimey, these podcasts and these unofficial voices, this narrative, which is not their narrative, as they perhaps prepare for more psyops and problems that they want to push down on us, we need to have more of the people's voice. And that's where you come in. I mean, many people say to me, but Richard, what can I do? How can I help? In what way can I contribute? And I think very much being able to put your face above the parapet and saying, actually, I've got a point. Because I don't think they can round us all up. If you've got hundreds of thousands of people just populating the area that more and more people are coming to for their news and opinion, rather than the mainstream, which is so stagnant now and boring and, of course, so obviously wrong, I think that it would be very difficult for people to come and just shut us down. And that game of whack-a-mole, they'll need more than 350 people full-time trying to shut us down. They'll need more like 3,500 people, which I dare say they'll try and employ. So the more of us can set up the channels, can talk our mind, talk our own truth, see how we feel about it, we're influencing others. Of course, the other big thing that we really need to do is to try and get offline as much as possible. I know people are in Telegram groups and WhatsApp groups and they think that these are fantastic, but actually face-to-face places, if we can get back in the parish halls, the local village halls, frequent the pubs, hire the pub on a morning, 10:30 in the morning, before noon, before the pub opens, if you can find some awake pubs, and just gather and talk about all sorts of bits and pieces that you have seen in the news, and share that, bring people in, talk very carefully in light tones. So many people now are beginning to realise that what's coming down the pipe is just so anti-human. The various fines and entrapments that we have, the council tax, the unfairness, the fact that democracy is the wrong way round. There's lots of ways that we can talk to people about the problems without having to go into the horrific side, which I believe the correspondent who I mentioned at the beginning wants me to talk about the dreadful things that are happening to children and the UFO stuff and various other things which are, much more secret. But of course, I have to play a very different game. I'm dancing on the eggshells, trying to get the information that's fed to me from my various correspondents and audience without losing the channel. And also, it seems very important that I stay upbeat and keep people informed in a more friendly rather than frightening way. There are so many other channels that are putting in the bad news and keeping your vibrations down. Whereas I think in order to win this war, which is what it is, that we need to stay positive, upbeat, and feel that our vibrations are high, because there's a lot in the spiritual world and our own spirituality that we can do to fight them. Ultimately, this is a war of good and evil, and we need to stay on the good and keep our vibrations as high as possible. So the more YouTube channels we can set up, the more meetings face-to-face that we can set up, the more actual hugs, the more we can raise our vibration, in my mind, is very important. And the less that we frighten people and keep people down, the better. I mean, the government and the WEF and the WHO are doing a very good job of that, and the people who are funding them are doing their best to keep us in a low state. But if we refuse and we stand up for ourselves and assert ourselves in a positive way, then, in my mind, there's no way that they can win.